Hello and welcome back to Middle-earth Vision. I am currently in the process of inking Frodo Baggins, and you may have noticed that the camera angle is now better. Previously, the camera had distorted Frodo's face, making it resemble the cover of the Beatles' Rubber Soul album. Anyhow, I've solved it. I am a drummer in a band, and I managed to sort out the problem of camera positioning with one of my cymbal stands with an extended arm which I can angle just below my eye line while I draw and ink. The idea came to me in that liminal space between being awake and sleeping as I was in bed the other night. Now that we have sorted that out, I will move on to part 2 of discussing the nature and character of Frodo Baggins. Frodo settled in the village of Hobbiton with Bilbo after his parents' death, and although well liked, he too was deemed a bit queer and odd, like his cousin. He was half a Brandybuck on his mother's side, and the Brandybucks are considered unusual by some of the other hobbits in the Shire for several reasons. Firstly, they reside in Buckland, which is outside the normal bounds of the Shire, and is considered by some hobbits to be a dubious region due to its proximity to the Old Forest. Additionally, the Brandybucks have a reputation for being carefree and reckless, which sets them apart from the more conservative and cautious hobbits of the Shire. They are also known for their wealth and prosperity, which some hobbits may view as gaudy or unbecoming of a true hobbit. Their large, sprawling estate at Brandy Hall is quite different from the typical hobbit hole, which further contributes to their reputation as being unusual and makes them stand out from the other hobbits in the Shire, especially in Hobbiton. They also like boats, which was very uncommon behaviour as far as the inhabitants of Hobbiton were concerned. So Frodo, it seems, is kindly tolerated. As Sam's dad, the gaffer, says at the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, "Mr. Frodo is as nice a hobbit as you could ever wish to meet." In the film adaptation of the Fellowship of the Ring, the first time we see Frodo is when he's reading a book while leaning against a tree. This portrayal of him suggests that he is introverted, but when Ale comes into the picture, he also has extroverted qualities. The concepts of introversion and extroversion were first introduced by Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst Carl Jung in the early 20th century. Jung developed his theory of personality types based on his observations of patients and colleagues and their different ways of engaging with the world. I am quite keen to use a Jungian approach to the characters of Middle-earth, and there appear to be parallels between Tolkien and Jung as written and researched by a wonderful woman called Becca Tarnas, which I'll talk about later, if not this episode, then one at a later date. I am curious if the unfriendly atmosphere of Hobbiton affected Frodo upon his arrival, causing him to retreat to peaceful areas, take long walks, and avoid drawing attention to his Brandybuck roots. Frodo's peers don't seem to have the same suspicious inclinations as the older folk do, and perhaps merry Brandybuck's comings and goings in Hobbiton had softened the opinions of the Brandybucks. It appeared that Frodo's future involved managing Bilbo's property after his passing, and living out his days as a caretaker of Bag End, and enjoying a life of leisure. And in a way that's what happened after Bilbo departed. What's intriguing is that Frodo was already aware of Bilbo's ring, that it could make its wearer invisible, even though he didn't understand its full significance. In Chapter 1, a long-expected party, Frodo arrives back at Bag End after Bilbo has departed from his birthday party, and finds Gandalf pondering, and he tells Frodo about the envelope on the mantelpiece.
"You'll find his will and all other documents in there, I think," said the wizard. "You're the master of Bag End now, and also, I fancy, you'll find a golden ring."
It is common knowledge to fans of the book and the film that Gandalf is conscious that this magical ring is something more than a device to make its bearer disappear. The day after Bilbo's party, Frodo is doing his best to handle visitors and callers who are curious about Bilbo's whereabouts. He also had to deal with the Sackville Bagginses, who believed they were the rightful heirs to Bilbo's estate. However, their hopes were shattered when Frodo was declared as their true heir. After they have left, Frodo tells Gandalf about the run-in with Lobelia Sackville Baggins, Bilbo Baggins's cousin-in-law.
"She already nearly curdled me. Honestly, I nearly tried on Bilbo's ring I longed to disappear."
"Don't do that," said Gandalf, sitting down. "Do be careful of that ring, Frodo. It is partly about that I have come to say a last word."
"Well, what about?"
"What do you know already?"
"Well, only what Bilbo told me. I have heard his story, how he found it and how he used it. On his journey, I mean."
"Which story, I wonder?" said Gandalf.
"Oh, not what he told the dwarves and put in his book," said Frodo. "He told me the true story soon after I came to live here. He said you had pestered him till he told you, so I had better know too. 'No secrets between us, Frodo,' he said, 'but they are not to go any further. It's mine, anyway.'"
It is suggested that Frodo was aware of the magical properties of the ring, and that he also knew that it was the same ring that Bilbo had used to disappear from the party. In the world of Middle-earth, magic is portrayed in a more understated manner compared to other fantasy stories. Tolkien was inclined to think that magic should not be used as a convenient plot device, but rather as a means of exploring deeper themes and ideas. Magic is not an abstract force that can be wielded by anyone with the right knowledge or skill, but rather a power that is inherent in the world itself. When Tolkien wrote The Hobbit, the ring is portrayed as a simple magic ring and not the infamous One Ring of Sauron that is heavily featured in later works. However, once Lord of the Rings was being written, magic, according to Tolkien, was not the magic of the sleight of hand or a rabbit out of a top hat. As Gandalf says in the film, "Do not take me for some conjurer of cheap tricks." Or the book version, "You will see Gandalf the Grey uncloaked." This is a deep magic, beyond comprehension, of deep nature born in the void of Iluvatar's thought. This, again, is another topic for another time. Let's get back to Frodo. Frodo is a reliable friend whom you can count on. He had a small group of companions, fitting for his introverted lifestyle, and he was loyal to all of them. He is well read and thoughtful, and I can imagine he has pondered deeply on the meaning of life. He is also knowledgeable about the history of Middle-earth, likely due to his access to Bilbo's collections of books and maps. Frodo was able to withstand the power of the ring for a significant amount of time, until he finally claimed it for himself at the cracks of doom, and this could be attributed to his dependable nature and inner fortitude. In the second chapter of The Lord of the Rings, titled The Shadow of the Past, the story takes a darker turn, and is a crucial part of Frodo's character development. This is where Frodo's life changes forever, as his fate becomes intertwined with the ring. The easy and carefree life Frodo had envisioned is now gone, and unlike Bilbo, who was reluctant to leave his comfort zone of Bag End, Frodo has no choice but to face his destiny. Tolkien's scholar Tom Shippey's labelling of this chapter as the vital chapter is well founded. This is because it not only provides crucial information about the ring and its history, but also represents the moment that Tolkien devised the central plot of the book. In this chapter, there seems to be a rite of passage theme, with Gandalf acting as the main mentor and father figure. Although Gandalf appears hesitant to push Frodo too far, he understands that Frodo is the only one capable of completing the quest. Frodo's emotional journey in the shadow of the past is an important part of his character development. Throughout the chapter, Frodo's emotions range from confusion and fear to anger and despair. He is forced to confront the harsh reality of the situation and the weight of the responsibility that has been placed upon him. He is no longer the carefree hobbit that he was at the beginning of the book, but has been thrust into a position of great importance and danger. Additionally, there is an aspect of predestination in Frodo's predicament, as alluded to by Gandalf.
Behind that there was something else at work, beyond any design of the Ringmaker. I can put it no plainer than by saying that Bilbo was meant to find the ring, and not by its maker, in which case you also were meant to have it, and that may be an encouraging thought.
In the words spoken by Gandalf, we encounter a central philosophical question regarding the nature of truth and its relationship to human agency. Are Gandalf's words factual, or are they simply suggestions that may or may not be true? Moreover, one may wonder whether Gandalf's statement reflects a form of wishful thinking, or an effort to manipulate Frodo into undertaking the task of destroying the ring. I view this as Gandalf's compassionate support. Frodo has a moral duty to fulfill as the fate of the free peoples of Middle-earth rests on his shoulders. Of course, Frodo has the right to refuse, and Gandalf understands the difficult implications this decision would have on his well-being. Despite the challenging situation, Gandalf's empathetic role and encouragement give Frodo the strength to undertake the task of destroying the One Ring. The stakes are simply too high to disregard the quest, and the potential consequences of failure are too dire to contemplate. Gandalf is considered an angelic being, specifically a mayor sent by the Valar to assist the inhabitants of Middle-earth. His role as a guide and protector reflects the archetypical image of a benevolent angel. In this case, perhaps Frodo's guardian angel made flesh. Anyhow, I'll leave my ramblings for another video, and give thanks to the writers and scholars of Tolkien that have informed my video today: Brian Shippey, Michelle Novillano, Kathleen E. Dubs and Becca Tarnas. It may be a few weeks until I do another video, as I have up-and-coming work commitments. In an ideal world, I'd love to do this weekly, but work life, well, you know the score. Anyway, cool. Depending where you are watching this, I hope you have a great morning, afternoon and evening. Goodbye.